Sup, Dad?
Welcome to This Dad Reads, a bookish podcast covering numerous genres and fandoms. I'm your host, Jason, and on this week's episode, we're talking books, we're talking Star Wars, and I'm joined by my friend Justin, and we nerd out hard. Hello, fellow fandom friends. It's Jason. Welcome to another episode of This Dad Reads, the podcast. I hope everyone's doing well out there. We're into March now, and if you're anything like me, I kind of live my life with the academic calendar. Having little kids in school, I work for a university. It kind of just, that's a natural pace that my life falls into. So we're kind of heading into that spring break time, middle of the semester time. I don't know if there's any college students out there listening. If you have midterms, hope those go as well for you as possible. But it's just kind of that weird in-between time, right? Like, it's not quite summertime. I don't know how it is where you're at, but it is really cold where I live. I'm in California. Kind of atypical for this season, or it feels like it at least. So for today's episode, I just want to jump right into my last current next. I've been doing a lot of reading, and I want to just kind of catch you guys up to speed on where I'm at. The last book I read is called A Machine Divine by Derek Paul. He's an independent author, and this is kind of a futuristic, I don't want to say post-apocalyptic, but it's a unique mixture of kind of sci-fi, kind of fantasy, a little bit of YA. It tells the story of this kind of class system in a fantasy world where there's the main character who's from this kind of rough and tumble part of the world, and he gains entry into this kind of elite school in the biggest city in the region, and kind of just hit the path he goes down, getting to know some friends, kind of being influenced by new forces in his life and learning different ways and having his eyes open to things. In the larger plot, there's this mysterious band of kind of terrorists who are attacking the civilization and the world, and it's kind of up to him and his friends to find out what's going on. And it was really interesting. So I'm actually, a full review is upcoming on thisdadreads.com. So I love supporting independent authors and just diving into new worlds and helping support them any way I can. So keep an eye out on my website for my full review of A Machine Divine, and check it out for yourselves. I actually really recommend it. The book I am currently reading, and I'm at the very start of it, is the next High Republic Phase 2 novel, Cataclysm by Lydia Kane. I'm really excited for this one. Obviously, I've just started it, so I don't have too much to say yet, but I'm always excited when there's a new Star Wars book on my list, and will be probably freaking out with a lot of the other people as I dive into this book. I'm really interested to see where things are at with Axel Greylark. I know he's the cover guy for this book, and so I'm really excited to see what happens with that. This phase has been really cool. It's the shorter phase of the High Republic, the shortest phase of the High Republic that we've had so far, but in my opinion, some of the best stories have come out of it, and I've just really been stoked for everything that's been in this phase. And I know that a lot of us are kind of chomping at the bit to get back to our characters that we grew to love in phase 1, but between the events of the adult novels, the young adult novels, the Battle of Jeddah, the audio drama, and like the comic book series, like, I do not feel like we are getting anything less than amazing quality stories, artwork, all of it. It's all there. I love it. And so I'm really excited to see where this book goes, and I look forward to talking to all of you guys about it very soon. That book comes out on April 4th, so I will be publishing my review on that day as well. The next book I'm going to be reading is the third book in the first Red Rising trilogy, Morning Star. I've said it on previous episodes, but I'm doing a reread of this entire series in the lead up to Lightbringer coming out in July. So Morning Star is my favorite book of all of them. At least that was my opinion the first time I read through them all. So I'm really excited to be doing my Red Rising read through with my crew on Instagram. It's been a lot of fun just being able to chat and freak out with other people who are also reading these books. So I'm really looking forward to diving back into that whole world and just get wrecked all over again. And if you've read these books, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Morning Star will wreck you. And don't think I forgot about my droid buddy KC-78. Casey, are you around here? Where are you? Are you all charged up? You've been charging up for a while. I know. Yeah, The Mandalorian just premiered. I loved the first episode. Did you like it too? Yes, the Unzellans were really cute. I know. That scene between Grogu and them, the best. I had to show that to my kids. My kids were freaking out. My kids aren't quite at the age to watch that show yet, but my wife and I had to show them that scene. It was awesome. Yeah, I thought the first episode was a great way to kick off the season. I'm going to dive more into that in my next episode, so really stoked to have that show back. I love just the overall vibe of it, and it just feels like home. It feels nice. It feels comforting, so I'm excited. We also have a new Star Wars book out this week, Jedi Battle Scars by Sam Maggs. I was fortunate enough to receive an early copy of this and read it and review it. My review just went live the other day when the book came out. In all honesty, guys, this isn't my favorite Star Wars book ever. If you're into kind of the cerebral, character-driven vibe of a story, I think you should check it out. If you're also just eagerly anticipating Jedi Survivor's release in April, I would recommend checking it out as well. And like I say with all my reviews, and like I say just in general on the show and in Star Wars, like not everything is for everyone. And for me, this book was not really for me. I'm really glad that I read it, and I'm glad that I was able to kind of read this in-between chapter of the Mantis crew. I love spending time with them. I do think Sam Maggs really nailed the characterizations and the voices of these characters. But for me, the plot just didn't clip along, fast enough. And to me, just not enough happened for me to really enjoy it. So I only gave it one dad hat in my review. And that might seem a little bit harsh, but you guys, I just had to be honest with my audience and with you guys. I feel like you guys deserve that honesty from me. And I'm always going to be honest with what I say. I love Star Wars, but again, not everything's for me. And I think I made that pretty clear in my review. I think you should read it and form your own opinions of it. So that's the cool thing about Star Wars is, there's a place for all types of fans, and there's something for everyone, and not everything is going to be for everyone. So there's a whole bunch of comics that are still out right now. I'm actually reviewing Sana Staros for Tatooine Times. That title has been really fun so far. I actually just read the newest issue today, and that review is up as well on Tatooine Times. So I'm really enjoying the art on that one. I'm really an art-centric, art-forward person when it comes to comics. If the art to me isn't really my taste, then it's really hard for me to get into the story. But I feel like Sana Staros is really firing on all cylinders. Justina Ireland is just killing it so far and bringing in stuff from, the High Republic, and so it pays off, and it's a really deep, complex story, a family forward story, but also has some really fun, lighthearted moments with connections to Dr. Aphra and the High Republic, like I said. So it's a good time. To me, that's a huge surprise with this title. Yeah, it's really cool. I would definitely recommend checking out. It's from Marvel. And like I said, in my last current next, I am currently reading Cataclysm by Lydia Kang. I'm always excited for what the High Republic is bringing us. We have also new issues from the Marvel run for that coming up. Also, I didn't talk about this on last month's episode, but the Nameless Terror from Dark Horse Comics just came out. It's a mini-series. Guys, it's so good. And like I said before about my vibe with comics, if the art isn't popping, I'm not loving it. The art and the story on The Nameless Terror is crazy, you guys. This is not a kid's title. It's the High Republic Adventures line, which kind of always is the cue for audiences to be like, Adventures, it's a younger story. No. Check it out. The Nameless Terror. I think it surprised a lot of us. Some of the responses and reactions I've seen online, it's really good, guys. It's really good. And the art is it's right at my alley. And it's just so good. I can't recommend it enough. So George Mann wrote it. I'm reviewing that as well for Tatooine Times. I know the release schedules have been a little bit wonky for this phase, and I'm just gonna give the benefit of the doubt. I'll be patient. Whenever we're gonna get the next issue, I'm happy to wait for it. But having said that, off the top of my head, I don't know when the next issue is coming out. Keep an eye on my socials, and if you're a Star Wars person, just keep your eyes out on Twitter and all the places. There's lots of other fans and other friends out there who keep track of all that stuff a lot better than I do. Drunk Wookiee's one of them. Drunk Wookiee's one of my go-to for comics. Shout out to my Drunk Rookie friends out there. Yeah, check them out. They're always on top of all of the release schedules and everything like that. Well, Casey, I told you I wouldn't leave you hanging. Anything else you want to talk about? Oh, I can't talk too much about that yet, Casey, but I will say that I have a very special guest coming up in that I'm interviewing in April for an episode that's coming out in May. So if some of you listeners are keen-eyed enough and look at what's on the release schedule for Star Wars in May, you might figure out who I'm going to be talking to. That's all I'll say, though. Casey, you can't be doing that. You can't be teasing people, and you know I can't say anything. Okay. All right, buddy. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. All right. Why don't you get us kicked off with my conversation with my buddy Justin? All right. Thanks, Casey. For episode 4 of This Dad Reads, I'm excited to introduce kind of a new, I don't want to call it segment, but just kind of a new way to talk to people on the podcast. I've been thinking about the show and what its purpose is and just having some brainstorming around what I want this to be. And like I've said before, I want this podcast to be a place where like-minded people who might be in similar stages of life, whether they're raising kids or just in adulthood in general is just a very busy, chaotic time, and making a place for people who maybe don't have the people in their real lives to talk about things like Star Wars or the books they're reading or the shows they're watching. I want to create a space where like-minded people can just really come together and feel like you're having a conversation with a friend. That's really what my goal is. And so I'm wanting to bring on more of my just friends and people I've gotten to know and just talk and just kind of nerd out about all the things that we love. And so I'm really excited to have my first nerding out guest. His name is Justin. We'll get into it in our conversation, but he's a guy I met last year at Star Wars Celebration, just kind of connected over Instagram. We're both in the same state. And so just grown to really, have a cool friendship with this guy. And he's a huge comic book fan and just kind of a fellow nerd. And I had a great time talking to him, and I'm hoping to do this with other friends that I've made on Instagram or just online. Those of you who, you might know who you are, we've been DMing. If you want to chat with me, please hit me up. I would love to be able to find more people to talk to and have on the show. I'm also planning on just having like my in real life friends who are local, like my brother-in-law, Jeremiah. Shout out Jeremiah. He's done a lot of the artwork for my show, and he's a huge Tolkien, Star Wars person like me, and in our real lives we get together and talk about all of this stuff very often. So I just want to have my friends on and talk about what we love to talk about, and hope that you guys can all join in that conversation. Having said that, I wanted to invite all of you listening to nerd out with me and my friend Justin. What's up? What's going on, Justin?
How's it going, bud?
Dude, it's going good. I'm so glad to just chat instead of just DMing each other on Instagram all the time.
We actually get to talk and FaceTime now instead of sliding into each other's DMs all day.
That's how it all began, though, right? That's how it all began. Hey,
yeah.
So
I was thinking about that earlier today, actually, how we met. So I'll tell that story afterwards, though.
We'll get to it. So I know who you are, but why don't you introduce yourself? Let the podcast listeners know who you are, a little bit, what do you do for a living, and kind of like what's your Star Wars fandom vibe?
My Star Wars fandom vibe. Okay. So my name is Justin. I am a huge Star Wars super nerd, have been since, since birth. What'd you ask? What do I do for a living?
Yeah.
I work for a little company called Trader Joe's.
Woo-woo.
Out here in Southern California. Been here for about 15 years with the company, so having a lot of fun doing that.
Nice. Dude, hang on. Sorry, really quick. I need the gingerbread coffee is so good, and I'm still trying to buy that stuff. It's
disgusting, dude.
No,
it's disgusting.
No. We don't have to talk about it.
I'll send you all the extra that we have left over.
Please do.
I have your address now. I'll ship it to you.
Okay, please do.
Along with free comics as a bonus.
Oh, dude, thank you. Yeah, I was just going to say, obviously we connected on Star Wars, but I just, a lot of people I've met either, on Instagram or even my friends in real life, like a lot of us, we have connections, those kind of nerd connections. So is it just Star Wars? What else are you into? Like, what's your thing?
Well, I'll take you on a little journey here.
Yeah.
So back when I was well, let's start with the Star Wars because that starts first. So back, I was born in about 1982, so right before Return of the Jedi, and obviously I wasn't old enough to remember this, but my parents tell me that they took me to see Return of the Jedi with them back when they saw it in 1983.
Really?
So yeah, I was probably 11 months old when that was released. So I don't remember it, but safe to say it's in my blood since I was present in the theater in 1983. And then for as long as I can remember, it was always playing in my house in the background on those old VHS tapes that before the special edition came out. I was basically memorizing that movie from a very young age. I even at one day I burnt out the VCR by playing all three movies in a row while I was homesick from school one day.
Yes.
I
man.
stopped halfway through Return of the Jedi. The VCR burnt out, and we had to replace it because I was on a Star Wars kick, and I wasn't going to stop. Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I've been a huge fan of Star Wars since as long as I can remember. Wasn't really into. I know we kind of connected talking about books and stuff like that over Instagram since we both post a lot of stuff about books. I wasn't really into reading a whole lot until about age 11 when I went to one of those Scholastic book fairs. Do you remember those?
Yeah, so good.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to one of those at my elementary school. And I picked up this book because it had little miniature aliens on it. And I was like, what is this? And it was a little book called Aliens Ate My Homework by an author named Bruce Coville out of Syracuse, New York. He wrote a lot of books for young teens like that that had to do with like kids encountering aliens and stuff like that. So I thought it was a super cool book. Found out it was part of a series, so I needed more. So I took all my allowance money to the Crown Books that was down the street from me when those used to exist and bought up the entire series and read through all of them. Shortly after that, I discovered that Star Wars had books. And I was like, what is this? So every week when I got my allowance from like my paper route and mowing lawns and all that stuff, I would go and get the next book in the, do you remember the Young Jedi Knight series?
I didn't read them, but I know of them, yes.
Oh, man, you're missing out. Yeah. Jaina and Jason Solo, the Solo twins back before we had Ben Solo, you know? So yeah, they had quite a few adventures of like 15 different books or something like that. So I was reading those constantly. And then around the age 15, I discovered The Hobbit for the first time.
Nice.
And read through that maybe 3 or 4 times. Then I discovered the Lord of the Rings trilogy after that.
Of course, as you do.
This was all before the movies ever came out. Nice. So I was deep into those before the movies ever hit. And so just been a super huge nerd.
Just nerding ever since then. Love it.
Nerding out ever since.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm an 83 baby too. So me and Return of the Jedi, we both turned 40 this year.
Ooh, you old man.
Rough.
Are you going to go see the anniversary when it comes out in May?
If it plays in my town has weird stuff. Like they don't always show everything. So I would like to. I'd love to.
Did they do it for the Empire?
I don't remember. Yeah, they did. I don't remember why at the time I didn't see it, but I probably, because I had like young kids and I can't get out of the house. I can't.
You're a dad, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a dad. So,
I'll make it happen. I'll make it happen.
I'll come kidnap you.
Please do. Please. So like you said before, we connected at Star Wars Celebration last year. I forgot exactly how it happened, but I just remember I was trying to throw it out there to people if they're going to be there. Hey, who's going to be here? And I just remember you kind of DMing me and saying, and I remember we're trying to find each other. And I think even at one point I was like, what's your name? Like, what's your real name?
Oh, here. I'll tell you from my perspective. Okay, I'm walking up from the parking structure that's over by the hotel. And I remember thinking at that time, I wish I knew more huge Star Wars fans while I was coming here. Because I went to the 2015 one and I only knew one person there the whole time. So as I'm walking up to this one, I was like, I wish I knew like a bunch of super fans here that it would be fun to meet up with, because I see everybody joining these huge groups and they're all hanging out together. And so I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That one guy's here. That one guy from This Dad's Reads. I think he said he's going to be here because he's a super fan. He posts a lot of stuff about Star Wars. So that's when I slid into your DMs, like you were saying. And then I was like, hey, I'm not sure if you're going to be here, but I'm here. And then I'm thinking, this guy's going to be like, who is this dork messaging me? Like, who is this guy? He's probably not even going to respond to me. And then you're like, oh yeah, I'm hanging out by the fountain. Come find me up here. I'm wearing this or Tatooine Times hat or something like that. Yep. And so I'm like, okay, cool. He actually responded. So I'm like, I'll go say hi to him and see how he's doing. And then at that moment, I was like, I don't even know his name.
Yeah.
And so I went back into my messages to ask you what your name was. And I saw a message from you there saying, I don't even know your name. I was like, okay, cool. We're off to a good start.
That's awesome. And actually, it's so funny because one of my childhood best friends was named Justin. And it's so many people. I had a coworker named Justin, and people always would call me Justin. Or I just feel like the Jason Justin thing is it's followed me my whole life. So it tracked. It was awesome. It was perfect. It was meant to be, right? It was meant to be.
Time. I get called Jason all the time, and my little brother's name is Jason. So
oh, really?
Yeah, it fits.
There you go. It fits. So yeah, I didn't realize. I don't think I remembered that wasn't your first celebration. What was that celebration experience like last year for you?
Obviously, you know that I went multiple times this last year.
Yes.
The first time I went, I barely moved back into town in time to even make it back in 2015. Because I had just moved back to California from Idaho. So I was only able to go that one Saturday in 2015. So that was a fun experience because that was my first time. But I remember telling myself that next time I get to go, I'm going as much as possible, every chance I get. And I think I went 3 of the 4 days this last year. And I wasn't planning on it. I only bought tickets to one day. And then slowly I ended up getting tickets to the next days through other people who would give me their passes. And or I would make deals with them and stuff where I got certain merchandise for them in exchange for their pass or something like
just
that.
Just scamming your way to more tickets.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. You did similar things with your press pass. I know you did.
It was the community. The community was coming together to help. Everyone wants everyone to have a good time.
You know what? The Force willed it, so it happened.
There you go.
Yeah. So I think 3 of the 4 days was fun. So next time it's in town, I'll do all 4.
Definitely. And you made it to the Mandalorian experience thing, right?
No.
Oh, neither did. Oh, I thought you did. I didn't either.
Okay, I thought you were about to tell me you did.
No, I didn't either. I thought you had. I forgot. So I know we were both trying to
separate ways at a couple parts, but no, I didn't get into that. I think it was extremely hard to get into. There was a huge line.
It was crazy. Yeah. Yeah, I had a blast. I mean, I've talked at length about my experience, but I honestly, dude, meeting you and hanging out with you was one of the core memories I'm going to take from that experience.
I don't believe that for a second.
What? I didn't know anyone. You met
so many cool people.
I didn't know anyone going to that thing. I mean, I met up with. I had some people who I was going to connect with, but I didn't know anyone. I was going into it blind. So.
Every time I met up with you, you're like, "Hey, what'd you do?" And I was like, "Oh, I was over here at this little panel and stuff." You're like, "Yeah, cool. I got to go." And then you were gone.
The schedule, dude. The schedule was wild. It was kind of almost like a work event, but it was
what was your favorite thing there?
What
was your favorite thing that you saw? Besides me.
Yeah, besides you. Well, probably meeting and getting to talk to the High Republic authors, the interview I got to do with them, that kind of just happened super randomly.
I know you and Kevin became BFFs.
I think we're friends now, yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin was the first guy I saw. Remember you were there? I was like, Kevin, come over here.
With you,
yeah, that was awesome. Anyway, that was awesome. Just being able to kind of, make those real life human connections with, and the authors are just the coolest because they're just normal people who, the people like us who know their names and read all their books, they're as cool to us as, the Haydens and the Ewans of the world, and so to me it was as exciting to get to just meet and hang out and talk to them, and and especially it being the first time that the High Republic fans got to just be together since pandemic and all that stuff. It was really cool. The cosplay meetup, I think, between the cosplay meetup and the interview, those are my highlights.
I think seeing a life-size Ewok next to me was pretty cool.
Yes.
No, but I agree with what you're saying. It's cool to see all the authors, especially when they're in a crowd of people. And since they're not like a celebrity face, you wouldn't know who they are.
Right.
But people like you and me know exactly who they are.
Yes.
And we can spot them a mile away.
Exactly.
Like I think I saw E.K. Johnston all the way across that courtyard. And she was even wearing a mask at that time. But I instantly recognized who she was.
That's
I knew
funny.
right away. Even got Ahsoka signed by her.
That's awesome.
Her novel. Yeah, so it was cool to see all those people, especially because they may not be out there looking for the recognition, but I'm sure they appreciate it when it happens.
100%. Yeah, 100%. So I wanted to bring you on in particular because of your love for comics. Like, for those of you who don't know, Justin runs the Nerdy Bookshelf. That's his Instagram account. It's your like consumption and purchasing of comics like blows my mind. And I'm one part super jealous and the other part just like so confused about how you even do, like, where do you put everything? We talked about this, I remember, but so I mean, you talked about kind of where your love for Star Wars came from, kind of how you jumped into reading. How about comics? Like, where did that whole journey start, and like why comics for you?
You asked where I put them, and I'm a one-time use person, so once I read it, I throw it away, actually.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
No, could never do that. Love for comics started. Do you remember the X-Men cartoon show?
Yeah.
The original one from like 1992.
Yeah, on Fox.
Yeah. So around that time, that and the Batman animated series came out roughly around that time.
Yes, Batman animated.
So both of those came out right around my formative years. And there was a lot of good content, a lot of good cartoons coming out at that time. I'm like 11 or 12 years old at that time. And so I really get into superheroes, and I'm starting to love the X-Men. I think that's what broke me into comics. I was fortunate enough to grow up around a ton of comic book shops around me here in Orange County. And so every once in a while, my father or my grandparents, who would babysit me a lot, would take me to a couple different shops around. And I would that's another place I would spend my allowance money on, either comics or the little trading cards that the Marvel would put out once in a while. And ever since then, yeah, I've been collecting. I still have some of those from that original collection that I started, and I never let go of them, and been doing it ever since.
That's awesome. So like me, you're not a hoarder, you're a collector, right?
That's the term we use. Yes. Yeah, that's how we hide behind it.
Yes, exactly.
No, I've kind of developed a system so that it doesn't become an issue. And it doesn't overrun my life. So
okay.
I've got a very organized system. And then I also, every once in a while, I get rid of a bunch of them so that it doesn't pile up. Yeah.
Nice.
But I'm also lucky. What's that?
No, go ahead.
I got lucky. I have a 3-bedroom condo, so I have some room for storage.
One room for you, two rooms for your comics. Easy.
Exactly. Well, one is a Star Wars only room.
Okay.
And the other is just nerded
miscellaneous.
out everywhere.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you'll see it once it's completed.
There you go. That kind of goes into you kind of answer my next question, but I'm sure there's lots of people out there who maybe don't have as organized of a system as you. What is your system? Like, we don't have to get too in the weeds, but like, what do you do? Or do you have boxes? Because the thing about single issues for me, I love comics too, but I just don't like putting stuff in a box that I'm never going to see. So like, what's your system?
Well, first, step one is I limit myself to how many different series I'm going to read.
Okay.
So obviously I open myself up to everything Star Wars that comes out. I give every series at least a try to see if I'm going to like it. And then I've got a couple other series that I at least test out to see if I'm going to like it. And then I'll let it ride for like 5 or 6 issues and see if I'm going to hold on. But then I have a couple boxes I put my comics in after I'm done reading them, and I keep them all in order, numerical order and everything like that. But once I get to the end of a series, either they finish it or I'm like, this is all I'm going to collect for it. I get those BCW boxes that are stackable. Have you seen those black ones?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'll get those, and you can label what's in them on the front of them. They got a little slot to put a little card in. So I'll label them and then stack them in a closet. And I've got one specifically for this line of comics, like this story or this publisher or whatever I'm collecting, like this indie publisher. And then I'll have like a separate one for my key issues of my first appearances, stuff like that.
Okay.
Another one for all my, I actually have a couple for all my signed comics. And so I keep them separated and labeled like that. And they're in organized stacks. And so I just make sure that I don't let it get out of control where they just end up in a pile somewhere.
Yeah.
So, and the key is whatever you buy on Wednesday, you better finish it by the next Wednesday. You better finish that stack.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're going to get buried.
That's your rule. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a lot quicker to get through that TBR stack than a book TBR stack.
Oh my gosh.
We know how big those can get.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir over here. Well, that's good. That's all. This is a whole world that it's like I collect some comics. I grew up reading comics too, but I like reading the stories. So I'll do digital or I'll do like the trade paperbacks, but I could very quickly see how it could get. I have that collector gene. I know there's people out there who have that, collector gene.
It's the covers. It's
the covers
that do it.
I know.
For us. Yeah.
Have you seen all the Peach Momoko, the new Peach Momoko ones?
Yes. Yeah, the one she's coming out.
Yes.
The ones that like
for the Blade.
The women of Star Wars.
The one for the Blade is so nice. I'm gonna have to get that. Like I have to.
I want that Ewok one.
Yes, that's nice too. I know.
I messaged her for the original. I asked her how much the original for that was, and she's like, "Oh, it's only $3,500." I'm like, "Okay, never mind."
Oh, I was like, "You could budget for that."
Yeah,
you want to split it?
But go halvesies, and then we can share custody. Okay.
She's so good. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. You find your favorite artist and then you can't help yourself from picking up every one of their covers every time. That's why I grabbed this one, the Paolo one.
Yeah.
I love his artwork.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm a big art fan. That's what got me into comics. Going back to what you said, like cartoons, like I was big into Disney, like all the movies, Batman animated, like anything animated. I wanted to be a cartoonist. I drew. I was really into drawing and art, and especially once I hit junior high and kind of got into more comics and I started finding, like, I have a whole shelf dedicated to J. Scott Campbell. He's one of my favorites as well. I know we talked about him, but same thing. If he ever did, I mean, he's done some Star Wars stuff, but like same, I have a whole wall of all his stuff. I love him. So I totally get that.
I know you read comics digitally through your tablet because you get everything early. You're one of those guys that are lucky enough to have like a publisher name, or not publisher, but a book reviewer. And so the publishers send you stuff early. What do you collect outside of what you get downloaded? Like, what is the physical media that you have to collect besides books?
Oh,
like I see your leather-bound ones behind you. I have the same set behind you.
Yeah.
I see your leather-bound ones.
See, the thing for me is like, it doesn't really matter what the thing is. I just, when it's a fandom or something that I like, I want it. So, like, I have a Dark Crystal shelf, which has some Funko Pops.
We've been over this.
Yes, we've been over this. Like, I have Funko Pops. I
like it.
I like some Funko Pops. I don't collect Funko Pops, but if they do a lot, like, I bought every single Dark Crystal Funko Pop because I needed to have them because I thought I liked the way they looked. And I have all the Dark Crystal line of, like, the collected works from the comics. Oh, there's a lot, like 1, 2, 3. There's a whole bunch of different titles in line. So there's like 6 or 7 collections they have.
So, okay. So does your wife not enter this room? Does she just, because if she walks in there, she's going to be like, this is ridiculous.
By choice, she doesn't. Part of the whole reason why this room exists is so she doesn't have to look at everything, because it used to be in our master bedroom.
Or she's unaware of that this room exists.
Oh, no. She's well aware. She's very happy that I have my own place. She's happy that I'm happy, and we're both happy. She's just like the total opposite of me, though. Like blank walls. I don't want to see anything.
I don't. Happy.
Yeah, I'll just be like, although I will say, and my wife might be listening to this, my man cave slash office slash collector room, there I have like a small kind of like love seat couch. This is the preferred napping room. So she comes in here to nap. She always wants. She's like, "Can I go in
Oh,
the man
wow.
cave?" And I'd be like, "That's fine. That's fine."
Do you know the password?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, as soon as mine's all completed and the artwork is all back up on the walls after painting, I will send you pics so you
Yes, I
can see
can't
what
wait
mine
to
looks
see
like.
for sure, for sure. I know
I will
Fabio too
send
just got
pics. I
all
will
his
post.
Fabio, my buddy from Tattooing Times, he just got his shelves back up too. And so everyone, he's like, I gotta get my stuff up. I gotta get it up.
Dude, he's super cool. He sent me that Art of the High Republic book.
Yes, that's right. You won it.
Yeah,
I love that
because
book.
I think I tagged every single person I was following just so I can win that. Every single
It
person.
worked. When I saw that you won, I was like, yes, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, we talked about
Sweet
this a little
$35
bit.
book.
And what are some of your all-time favorite titles? I mean, we talked about childhood and I mean even more modern ones. What are some of your most favorite comic runs?
Besides like the 1990s X-Men stuff that I used to read a lot and Spider-Man stuff growing
Mm,
up. Since then, comics has definitely expanded since my childhood. If I had to name a few, I really got into Image Comics during the late 90s, early 2000s, or mid 2000s,
yeah.
roughly. So, yeah, I really got into some of Kirkman's stuff like Invincible and Haunt, both on Image. There's a series also on Image by Remender called Black Science, which is super, super good. It's about
Okay.
interdimensional travel. Um, there was a really small little series called Turf, which was one of my favorites because it has to do with this detective in the 1930s. Has no idea as he's like trying to crack down the mafia and stuff during Prohibition. No idea that he uncovers like this vampire underground society, and then on top of that, teams up with an alien that crash lands on Earth to take down these vampires.
Okay.
And I'm like, this can't get any weirder.
Yeah.
And I love every minute of it. Another cool one. It was a very short series called Wild Blue Yonder.
Okay.
I believe that was on IDW Publishing,
Okay.
and that's basically like Mad Max above the clouds, where they have to stay above the clouds because anything below the clouds is polluted.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
almost like Waterworld,
Yeah.
but instead of, you know.
Nice.
So that was a really good series. A lot of character development in that one. Really enjoyed every minute of that one. But one of my favorite ones that I'm reading right now is a horror series that has to do with the Black Plague, and it's
Oh.
super good. One of my friends is actually writing it. This guy named Jonathan Chance. He's writing this series called Cover the Dead with Lime. And he's an English guy, and so he knows a lot about English history. So he's writing a total horror series on the Black Plague where it's turning people into zombies and it's bringing them back.
Nice. And
So
do you get
it's a
early
really good
access to
series.
all that?
I get early previews. He shows me little snippets without revealing too much.
Okay. Okay.
Because he doesn't want me to be spoiled with spoilers.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
so I only get the issues as they come out, but he's a super nice guy and he signs for free. So I bring every issue I have to him and he'll sign it. And then
Nice.
every once in a while, when he has free time, him and I will go vintage comic book hunting every once in a while.
So fun. Nice.
Yeah, he's a super cool guy. He's very knowledgeable, super funny.
That's awesome. You mentioned it a little bit when you were talking about how you kind of got into comics, but and the only reason why I ask is obviously this dad reads. I'm a dad. I'm trying to I'm really curious about where people or what types of parent figures you had in your life that maybe helped you discover this love of comics or media, or like do you know in that genetic line where that kind of passionate fandom gene came from? Like just what is that story?
I would have to say if it came genetically, it came from my dad. He's a major sports fan.
Okay.
And so he was always going to either the sporting events to go meet the players and get autographs for his cards and stuff like that. And he would always take me to local conventions around Orange County here. There was a couple really close to me. There's another big one that's not too far away called Frank and Sons, where he would take me to all these different places. And instead of gravitating towards all the sports cards and stuff that he was going for, I started seeing all these things that were illustrated and animated with all these bright colors and vibrant characters. And I'm like, whoa, these are cool. And so that's when I started to notice all of these comics and all of these cards that I could collect that are a lot cooler than some guy holding a bat on a card in a picture on a card.
Yes.
So I was always seeing those. Those are the things that were grabbing my attention. And then less than a mile away from me was this local comic book shop that I would always pass on my way to school.
Okay, nice.
And so on my way home, I would always stop in there just to see what was new and see what other brand new comic or cards were out, what new characters were being introduced. I remember walking in there one time and seeing that they had X-Men issue number 1 sitting in their little glass case. And back then, I remember seeing it as priced at like $90 back then. Do you have any idea how cheap that is? Well, you take inflation into account, and it's a couple grand now. But back then, I walked by it going, $90. I'm 10 years old. When am I ever going to have $90 to spend on this? $90 is so much money, you know. But now it's a couple $1,000s. And I wish at that time I had $90 to spend on that damn comic.
Right.
But yeah, so comics were always a big part of my childhood. They were always around, whether I tried getting them away from them or not.
That's awesome. Well, like you said too, when we hung out last time, when I was in Pasadena a couple months back, you took me to that. We went to a used bookstore and we did some kind of books hunting. That was fun. So I know, obviously,
that little one that we found.
Yeah. I know you're into books too, not just comics. So you can include comics in this next question, but I ask everybody this. So what's your last current next at the moment? Or what did you read last? What are you currently reading? And what are you going to read next?
Well, you may be guilty of this as well, but there's never just one book at a time. So not only along with all of the books that I am reading at one moment. I mean, I was reading Red Rising with you. Remember? That was the last one I read.
Okay, you finished it?
I did finish it. In last place along with the group. I was struggling with it. I'm sorry.
Don't give up yet.
I pushed through. I did finish it, and I picked up the second one, so don't worry.
Oh, sweet. Okay, good. I wasn't gonna bother you about it.
You weren't gonna push, huh?
No.
No, I did pick up the second because the last 6 chapters rolled through for that. I went right through that one. It picked up very nicely. But it was a struggle getting there for me.
Okay. Fair enough.
And I'm not sure what it is because I don't want to compare it to other series that are similar to it. I don't want to compare. It was just a struggle for me to stick with it. But those last 6 chapters really rolled pretty well. So I blew through it, finished it, picked up the second one. I know I'm behind on the group, but I'm about to blow through it. You said a current read. Currently going through a trilogy that was very popular on Instagram recently over the last couple of years. The Shadow of What Was Lost.
Okay.
By James Islington. It's a trilogy, but these things are 800 pages thick.
Okay.
This thing is massive, but it reads very, very quickly. So I'm trying to go through that trilogy alongside of what I'm reading with you. I just didn't want to tell you about it because I didn't want you thinking I'm cheating on you with other books. However, the secret is out. I'm sorry to break it to you, but I am seeing,
can't take it back.
I am seeing other books besides you. No, don't worry. Not other books to grammars, just books.
Okay, cool. That's good. Okay, good.
You're the only one for me. But next up, soon as I finish those, along with the Red Rising series with you, I got to jump back into this.
Oh,
I got to
Battle of Jeddah.
jump
You
back
gotta
into
do
the
it.
High Republic.
You got to do it.
Because I'm trying desperately to read Star Wars in its entirety chronologically.
Right. We've talked about this.
So, yeah, and I'm trying not to jump too far ahead. Every once in a while, they will come out with something that is in the prequel era that I will jump to, like that Padawan book that came out. But I'm sticking with only the High Republic right now until it's done, and then I will finish the prequel era, the Old Republic era. Or I went through the Old Republic, the expanded Universe Old Republic. But I will go through the prequel era up until Clone Wars, and then carry on through there.
Nice. Did you listen to the audio drama of Battle of Jeddah, or did you wait for the script book? Okay.
I did not. I waited. I'm a physical media guy. I did for, what was that other one from the last phase?
The Tempest Runner?
Yeah, I did do that. I listened to that a lot while I was doing some overnight shifts at work.
Okay.
And so I did go through that, but then I ended up buying the physical copy anyway and read through it again.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely I one of those people. I don't count it as reading unless you actually read it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm a purist. Like, if you just listen to the book, you did not read it. I'm sorry.
Dang, that's a hot opinion right there.
Shots fired.
I don't have a soapbox for that, really. I mean, I disagree, but it's fine. I was gonna say, I want
your opinion is wrong.
Exactly, or that yours is. Are you gonna? But do you? With these, I would say the Battle of Jeddah was probably the first audio drama that I actually really want to. I don't want to say the wrong thing. It's really hard for me to. It's really hard for me to keep my focus with audiobooks. Like, I can't do it. Like, I need to read to have, like, my brain just works a different way. But I will say, this one was, I think it's just because it has a whole cast. There's different voices. It's not like one narrator. I feel like that probably helps my brain. But I haven't read the script book yet, actually. I want to read it while listening to it, because I think that would be even, I've never done that. Like, I've read script books by themselves and then done audio dramas by themselves. But I've heard a lot of people say it's really cool to do both. So I want to do that.
So you're going to read this along with the audio drama and turn the page when you hear that magical sound like in the kids' books?
Yeah. Diddle-a-ding, turn the page now.
I think you just proved my point, though. It was hard for you to focus when you listen to the audio drama, so you didn't really take it in. So that doesn't count.
No. It's usually hard for me. I have to really, or literally be doing nothing else. Like, I have to be going on a walk where I'm not distracted, and like, yeah, it's really hard. Whereas when you're reading a book, like, it's a different way to focus your brain. Anyway.
Yeah, I need my eyes to focus on the subject to actually be in it.
Yeah. Mandalorian's about to come out.
Dude, it's in what, 2 days?
Yes, from today. Well, from the day we're recording, yes.
Oh yeah, so this will probably come out way after that. We're still halfway through the Bad Batch. And I know there's some slow episodes, but I feel like they're building up to something. And a lot of people argue that, we're seeing a ton of filler episodes. But if you break down the Clone Wars, how many filler episodes were in that 7-season series?
Dude, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever really break down my full Clone Wars opinion, because I don't want to just be banished.
I think somebody broke it down once and said there's somewhere around like 40 something episodes that are real meat of the story, and the rest of it is kind of throwaway. So, I mean, you're going to get a lot of episodes that don't really have a whole lot of push to the story, but they're fun, and it's a cartoon. Come on.
Exactly.
We have that. We have Mandalorian. We got the news that we're going to get out of April. You're not going to London, are you?
Oh, no, I wish.
Well, are you going to go to the next states one?
Heck yeah.
Even if it's in another state?
Yes, I will go wherever it goes in the States next. I will attend. You?
So furthest spot away, they pick Orlando, Florida. You're going to go?
I will go. Well, yeah, I was already saving. I think everyone's kind of everyone's assuming it's going to be Orlando. That's probably dumb to do, but it's probably a pretty good guess. But did you see just recently they announced that they're not doing another one until 2025. So I was already starting to save up for 2024, because I was like, man, that one last year just hit my bank account.
It hit all of us.
So I'm kind of glad that we have more time to save up.
Yeah. All right. Well, if it's in Florida, where do you want to meet so we can road
We
trip?
can fly, yeah. Oh, road trip?
Oh, whoa, backpedal.
Okay,
Okay, we can fly.
there you go. Thank you.
Share a hotel room then.
Yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, I'd
Yeah.
take you up on that. Help cut my costs.
Yeah, that'll be good. We'll do something like that instead.
For sure. We'll get a whole crew going.
That'll be fun.
Well, I mentioned it earlier, but where can people find you online if they want to kind of check out your whole comic collection, your weekly purchases?
Oh, my weekly hoarding. So yeah, just my Instagram where I share all of that is the Nerdy Bookshelf, and it's got underscores in between every word on there.
I'll
So,
link it in the
easy to
podcast
find.
description as well too. So
Sounds good.
yeah, man. Thanks so much for hanging out. This was awesome. Let's do it again
anytime you want.
sometime.
Anytime you want to do.
Sounds good. Thanks, man.
All right, thanks, Jason.
Once again, I want to thank Justin for joining me and having a nerd out conversation. I had an awesome time, lots of good laughs, and always a good time with that guy. I hope that we can connect in real life very soon in the near future. If you aren't doing it yet, follow him at the Nerdy Bookshelf. It's _nerdy_bookshelf on Instagram. He posts tons of stuff every day, and he's just a really cool guy. So I want as many people to find him as possible and just show him some love. I have some plans on the next episode to dive a little bit deeper into Star Wars things, especially season 3 of The Mandalorian, which has just came out, which I know all of us are enjoying so far. So stay tuned for that. Another announcement for the show as well. I'm moving to 2 episodes a month. So you're going to be getting more of me and my friends and my guests on to nerd out and talk about books, talk about shows. There's a lot of fun stuff I have coming up in the works, so I hope that you will join me for that. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for listening. For more of my content, visit my website at thisdadreads.com for full book reviews, interviews, and articles. Follow me on socials at thisdadreads on Twitter and Instagram. This Dad Reads, the podcast, is produced by Aravis Industries and me. Special thanks to my editor, Jeremy Tuttle, and to Coma-Media for the use of their song Bounce. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe on your podcast platform of choice and leave me a 5-star review. It really helps. Catch you next time.